All right, today we are diving into a really powerful teaching strategy. It's one that actually mirrors how the human mind naturally makes sense of the world. We're talking about a method for turning a flood of raw data into real, structured understanding. It's an incredible tool you can use in pretty much any learning environment.
I mean, just think about your day-to-day life. Our world is a constant stream of information, right? Millions of colors, countless faces, endless things happening all the time. As learners, we're faced with this beautiful, but honestly, pretty overwhelming chaos. It's a fundamental challenge for any of us trying to make sense of it all.
So how do we do it? How do we possibly move from this sea of individual facts and experiences to structured, meaningful knowledge? Well, it isn't magic. There's actually a brilliant model for that, and it's something we can learn to use on purpose.
To really get this, we need to look at the foundation of the strategy, which was developed by a visionary educator named Hilda Tava. Her work gave us a clear blueprint for how to guide this natural process of thinking.
So here's the core idea. It's an inductive strategy. Now what that means is instead of just handing students a definition to memorize, this model empowers them to build the definition themselves. They start with specific examples and work their way up to the big general idea. It's truly learning from the ground up.
So the crucial point here is that this isn't just about sorting information. It's all about the journey. It's about constructing a deep, personal understanding of these big, abstract ideas. But you start with the concrete things we can actually see and name.
Okay, so how does it actually work? Let's break down the whole process into 5 core steps. And to make this really tangible, we're going to use the abstract concept of a grudge as our running example, just like you might in a classroom.
And here is our roadmap. First, we list items, then we group them, and then we label them. From there, we regroup to find even deeper connections. And finally, we synthesize it all. You see, each step builds logically on the last one, guiding the learner from a bunch of scattered ideas to a powerful summary they built themselves.
So the whole thing kicks off by just getting all the raw data out on the table. No judgments, no organization yet, just a pure brain dump of ideas related to whatever the topic is.
A teacher might start things off with a simple focusing question, like, what comes to mind when you hear the word grudge? Then, students just brainstorm everything they can think of. A key strategy here, and this is so important, is true brainstorming. You accept every single contribution without judgment. That's how you get a really rich and diverse set of data to work with.
Okay, so with this big master list in front of them, students now shift gears from generating ideas to organizing them. This is where the detective work begins, as they start looking for patterns, connections, and hidden relationships inside that list.
The teacher just prompts them, do any of these items seem to belong together? And this is where it gets cool. You can see these conceptual categories starting to emerge right out of the chaos. For example, students might pull out words like hurt, hate, and mean, and put them in one group, and words like whisper, fight, and yell in another.
This next moment is absolutely critical. It's where students have to articulate the why behind their groupings. They actually have to name the pattern they've identified.
By creating labels like feelings caused by a grudge, students are forced to define the criteria for their own categories. This is such a powerful step because it makes their thinking explicit and visible to everybody in the room.
All right, now we get to what I think is the most creative and intellectually flexible step of the entire process. It's designed to push thinking beyond those rigid, single-purpose categories.
This is where students have that aha moment. They realize an item isn't locked into just one category. The word hurt, for instance, can be a feeling you experience, sure, but it can also be an action someone does to another person. This is brilliant because it illustrates that concepts are complex and can be viewed from multiple vantage points.
And finally, after all the listing, all the sorting, and analyzing, it's time for the students to zoom out and summarize the big picture they've just put together.
This is the grand finale. They put all the parts together, the feelings, the actions, the consequences, to form a powerful generalization. This is a statement of understanding that they built entirely themselves, right from the ground up.
So we get the steps, right? But how does this model actually play out in a real learning environment? How do you evaluate the learning that's happening? And how can you adapt it to make sure it works for everyone?
Well, when you're assessing learning with this model, you can look at 2 key areas. First, sure, there's the sheer volume of ideas they generate in step 1. That shows you the breadth of their thinking. But what's way more important is the originality and sophistication of the connections students make. That shows real depth and creativity.
And one of the best things about this model is just how flexible it is. You can easily adjust it to meet diverse student needs. You could use pictures instead of words, maybe provide some sentence starters for the labels, or just modify the pace. This makes sure that everyone can access this powerful way of thinking.
So, let's bring it all home. What's the ultimate takeaway? Why is this model so fundamentally effective, not just as a classroom activity, but as a way to build lasting knowledge?
It's because this model doesn't just teach content, it teaches students how to think. It's really constructivism in action. Learners are literally constructing their own understanding. It gives them the critical thinking skills to organize, categorize, and analyze information in pretty much any context they'll ever face.
So, I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own context, whether you're a teacher, a manager, or just a lifelong learner. What complex ideas, things like democracy or innovation or even friendship, could this process unlock for you and your learners, moving everyone from just simple facts to a deep and lasting understanding?
And hey, if you want to dig even deeper into the theory we've talked about, the original work of Hilda Taba and the foundational text, A Study of Thinking by Jerome Bruner, are absolutely fantastic starting points. Thanks for watching.